The release of more Epstein files last Friday is still making waves, with a number of high-profile figures in the business and political world being named.
We discussed President Trump's relationship with the convicted sex offender earlier in the show, but there are plenty of other notable names. Elon Musk, for example, can be seen in several documents appearing to ask Epstein if he could please visit the Caribbean island. In one email, he allegedly asked Epstein, quote, "What day/night will be the wildest party on your island?"
But that could mean anything, really.
No.
Musk remains adamant he did nothing wrong, writing on X over the weekend. "I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeated invitations to go to his island or fly in his Lolita Express, but was well aware that some email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by detractors, Lindsay, to smear my name."
Yeah, okay. Another name seen in the Epstein files is President Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. He says he visited Epstein's Manhattan mansion roughly 20 years ago, but says he was so disgusted by the visit that he then cut ties with Epstein. However, emails appear to show Lutnick planning to visit the island in 2012. The New York Times says Lutnick denied following through on the visit, telling them over the phone that he spent zero time, that's a quote, with Epstein.
The Department of Justice also released an interview with Jeffrey Epstein and former Trump advisor Steve Bannon. In that interview, Epstein seemingly blames the 2008 financial crisis on former President Bill Clinton. He accuses Clinton of playing a role in pressuring banks to lend money to people with bad credit, which ultimately led to the collapse of the housing market. Take a look.
The real enemy of the finance system was Bill Clinton. And if you ask me what and who caused the financial crisis, I would tell you it was Bill Clinton. We can't lend to people whose credit is not prime. You're asking us to lend to people who are subprime. And he says, here's the key, if you don't, Mr. Bannon, I'm going to make sure the Justice Department charges you with discriminatory lending.
Let's get to that interview in a minute, but first, take a victory lap for Elon. Looks like a big hypocrite on this. I'll admit it.
Right.
I'm a fan, but he looks like a hypocrite.
Wealthy people, this is the connections that people are asking for. They're meeting with him, emailing him, having conversations with him, doing business with him.
Which night is the craziest party?
Huh? What?
That's what he said. Which night is the craziest party?
Peter Thiel accepted $40 million from Epstein, according to his firm, according to the New York Times. So I'm just trying to understand. Everyone said they didn't know him like that. It was old, historical, right? This is the argument of why we should listen to Trump, because he said the relationship was historical. But we're seeing proof of...
Okay, but with
we're not going back to Trump.
Historical.
We're not going back to Trump. I'm just saying we're supposed to take people's word for it, and everyone's lying. You see, like, Elon Musk was basically begging to come over and come to the island. So that's embarrassing for Elon Musk, who was saying, all caps on X, the platform that he owns.
Yeah.
The president is all over the Epstein files. I think we're seeing the relationships were not brief. Everyone tries to say these relationships were brief and not really worth talking about, but these are not brief interactions. Some of the people that were listed in the file are, it's like more of a joke, because like Russell Wilson, the football player, he was listed as supposedly looking at it into a jet that was owned by Epstein. And so he's like, no, don't try to tie me in this. And there's some celebrities. We're talking about extremely wealthy people that had multiple correspondences asking to visit and also advising President Trump. These are people with bad judgment, right? Elon Musk was in the administration.
And he was a convicted sex offender.
Right. And so you're asking, can you come to his island? And so you have no morals, but you want to, not you, Elon Musk looks like he has no morals. And it just proves the point that everyone is just, what's the big conspiracy? And you seem like you're done with the fact that people are never going to be, you're done with the fact of getting answers because people are never going to be satisfied. But I think when you have high-level people like Elon Musk specifically
satisfied until there's
lying,
evidence that it involves Trump, and there isn't. So that's why they'll never be satisfied.
Okay, well, there were invitations, there were follow-ups. Everybody all of a sudden never followed up. So it's like if I email you, hey, Robbie, can I come to your birthday? And then just, you don't see the correspondence. We don't go to text message. I just maybe went, maybe didn't. But I'm telling the people I didn't go, and then the other person can't speak for themselves because they're not here with us anymore. I just, it feels like a conspiracy. That's why people are getting uncomfortable. They just want all the information. They want all the financial ties. They want to know all the answers so they can figure out who did what when and who knew what when, and we can figure out who Epstein really was. And that's it. That's all they're asking for, transparency.
We know a lot. You keep saying that we don't know anything about. We know a lot about his life and his source of wealth. The most unclear part of the Epstein thing is the possible ties to foreign intelligence agencies through Galen, through his contact with the Israeli government, and was he trying to associate himself with all these wealthy and influential people so that he would have dirt on them, so that he could influence them on behalf of a government? Was this aware of by our government, so there was some cover for him? That is all, to my mind, that is the outstanding and still interesting question. Whether...
And if he was protected, should those people be prosecuted? That's it.
Well,
anybody that was protecting him in government from being, knowing that he's a sex offender, knowing that he's committed these heinous crimes.
Well, that would not be prosecuted. That would just be a decision that the State Department or the CIA or whoever it is made behind closed doors. That's not that they just said, using our discretion, go easy on this guy for this reason.
I mean, I just think that everyone's brushing off anything that has to do with, and we already talked about Trump, but Elon Musk, we're just going to brush this off. It's not worth brushing off. These people are your friends.
I think there's a pretty crazy hypocrisy and also just a boldness to going so hard on release the Epstein files back before this was such a mainstream topic of interest. Go all in on that as like Elon and Bannon and others did, knowing how maybe I don't know, maybe Elon forgot he sent this email in 2012. Bannon couldn't have forgotten he sent these messages in 2019?
Yeah, he went really far.
Yeah, I would have not been leading the parade for more disclosure on those subjects. I had sent emails asking which night is the wildest party.
It's also weird because the way that Elon Musk was so erratic when he had his little tit for tat with President Trump and was kind of convincing everyone oh my God, Elon Musk knows something about Epstein. He knows that this is going to be President Trump's demise.
Then he said Trump is in the Epstein files, and Elon is now already more in them than Trump is.
More recently, anyway.
Right.
More, the part where it's more egregious because he's already been, convicted of a crime. That would be more problematic. So I can't even rationalize what Elon Musk is doing or what he has to say for himself. But he tried to say, some things aren't what they seem. I'm paraphrasing. What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean? The email isn't what you wrote? What do you mean?
Let's address this. It's a 2-hour interview that Bannon and Epstein did, and I don't know what the context of it is. I watched some of it. It's an interesting conversation, frankly. If you didn't know who the people involved are, you go, oh, this is kind of interesting stuff. Epstein gives his views on the policies that led to the housing crisis that actually Steve Bannon pushes back on. Or they were disagreeing a little bit because Epstein says the problem is, all these lower income people getting houses that they couldn't afford the loans for. And Bannon says, oh, so you're saying that what? You're saying the problem is people want home ownership? Is that working class people want to own homes? That's how he doesn't say how dare you, but the tone of him is, well, that's kind of mean of you, this super wealthy person, to say that people should own their own homes. Then Epstein's like, well, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the Clinton administration pressured the banks to loan money to people, the mortgage lenders, to make loans to people who they knew wouldn't be able to pay them back because they thought it was going to be covered by the government, and that was a bad policy. So, it's interesting what led up to the financial crisis that we're all somewhat familiar with. It's all a little bit complicated. That was a cause of the 2008 crisis, that people owned, in some cases, people owned many homes, giant homes that they would never be able to pay the mortgages on, and shouldn't have been allowed to take out those mortgages, but the lenders were encouraged to do so because they were facing no accountability for it. So interesting, refresher on that situation by two people who are relatively informed about it despite any of the sex crimes that Epstein was involved in.
I mean, I didn't have too much to say other than that, Bill Clinton was very obviously had some relationship with Epstein, and it seems like as soon as he was convicted, he has now, and he's being convinced even by the journalist Wolf that was telling him to speak out against President Trump. He has dirt on everybody, and so that is concerning. That he feels like, oh, I know the information, you caused this. He's gonna try to become a friend. When somebody's not your friend anymore, now they have everything bad to say about you. It's kind of like, what did he think the relationship was that was kind of agreed upon between two parties that soured in his mind, that makes him want to retaliate in this way. So I think just hearing him talk about people that were really, seemingly good friends, and then want to get everyone back in a way, makes me try to figure out what's this retaliation relationship about and why is he so upset and what does he actually know? And it goes back to that question of like, if we know everything, maybe we'll stop asking all these questions.
I doubt it.
Bill Maher criticizing Representative Ilhan Omar for being too critical of the U.S. We'll be right back.